Welcome back to my podcast. I'm Ebony Biko, loan officer and mortgage strategist. And today we are going to talk about foreign nationals and international investors who want to buy, invest, and grow when it comes to their real estate portfolios here in the U.S. legally, strategically, and profitably, even without U.S. citizenship or a social security number. So that is where I come in. So if you have ever been told that you cannot buy a property here in the U.S. or you need U.S. credit or citizenship, that is a lie. That's not true under no circumstances. When it comes to buying property in the U.S. as a foreign national, so let's be clear. You do not need to be a U.S. citizen to buy property here in the United States. You do not need a visa, social security number, or even U.S. credit. When it comes to foreign national loan programs, there are a lot of programs that is specifically designed for international buyers and investors that allow you to purchase. For an example, you're allowed to purchase investment properties, second homes, short-term rentals, long-term rentals, and fix and flip projects. These projects can be loan amounts as up to $3 million and often with loan values as to up to 70 to 75%, depending on the different type of programs. I'll tell you a quick story, right? When I first started this business and on the real estate side, not the mortgage side, because I started mortgages way before real estate back in, I don't remember, but 8 years ago, 10 years ago, something like that. I was working at Coldwell Banker before I became independent. And what happened was I had individuals that was in the office that did not want to take the calls from the foreign nationals, because if you know anything about someone from another culture in another country, they can come off as like, rah, like that. Well, the thing is, when you're a businesswoman and you business savvy like me, understand people in the U.S. speaks and sound and talk and present themselves different from people from other countries and other cultures. People from the South are different from people from the East Coast. People from the East Coast are different from people from the Midwest. But when you're a business person, you understand that. And I understood the mission. I understood the goal. And the goal was they're just like us. They're human beings. Yeah, they may be foreign nationals, but they don't play when it comes to real estate investing as a whole. And so I ended up getting that business. And I got that business because I was willing to take that call and work with them. At the end of the day, what happened was every single time they came to the U.S., they would come with 2 luxury busloads full of other investors. I'm showing them around buying properties here in the U.S. So with that being said, you can buy properties in the U.S. But if you're a realtor and you're listening to this, do not underestimate those real estate investors that are foreign nationals, because they're going to be your biggest client. You get 2 foreign nationals. If you don't want to work anymore for a while, you really don't have to, because genuinely, what I've seen versus the traditional real estate investors, traditional real estate investors sometimes might want 1 or 2 properties unless you're like a huge investor. When it comes to foreign nationals, they know they coming here to the U.S. to convert their currency and spend their money and invest. So you have to be ready to invest with them, invest your time, show them the neighborhoods, understand what it is that they're looking for. If it seems like, they may have an attitude, they really don't. It's just a culture difference. And that's something as a real estate agent, you have to understand. And if you are their mortgage broker, you need to understand it, because they're going to be your best clients. But get back to the point, because for me, I just had to say that was huge, because that is what made my real estate career. My mortgage career also was made by foreign nationals, but my real estate career blew up. So please, under no circumstances, do not underestimate them, because they are part of your best portfolios. Now, again, I really want to talk about the biggest part when it comes to real estate investment and foreign nationals. One of the biggest mistakes when it comes to foreign investors is making it them assuming that there is only one way to finance property in the U.S. and there isn't. Like, there are so many different programs out there for foreign nationals, such as the DSCR loans, which can be for like regular real estate investors, But why this is cool? Because like you don't need an ITIN number. Like you really don't. Like these loans are really based on the property's rental income, not like your personal income. If the rent can actually cover the mortgage payment, the taxes, and insurance, the loan is going to work. Perfect for long-term rentals and portfolio growth. And like I told you, a lot of foreign investors, they're looking to grow portfolios and they'll flip their portfolios. So like I said, if you're a good real estate, realtor, understand how foreign investors work and understand how these different programs work. Then you have the no doc limited documentations loans. Now, these are really huge back in the day, like in 2000, before the mortgage crashed in 2008, the industry. But all before then, like the stated loans was huge. They have brought those loans back. Some places call them stated, some call them the no income document verifications. Some just flat out say, hey, these are the DSCR loans, right? So you need to understand these programs, because if someone call you and they may not have a pre-approval, they know they got the good credit in their state. They know they have the down payment, but they need your assistance. You need to be able to assist them and potentially point them in the right direction versus saying, oh, you don't have a pre-approval, don't call me, So just be aware of that if you're a realtor. And if, like I said, if you're a foreign investor, there are loans here in the U.S. that you can get. That's no documentation loans. As long as you have the money to put down, you're fine. Because as you can recall, I said you can get something at 70 to 75% LTVs, maybe 65%, but for the most part, 70 to 75% LTV, which means you have to come to the closing with that 25%. But again, if your realtor negotiate that contract correctly, you can have the seller contribute 5% towards the closing costs, which now you are coming to closing with 20% plus the miscellaneous taxes, whatever the closing fees are. Now, the other loan program outside of the DSCR loans is the no doc limited documentation loans. These programs require minimum income verification and often rely on bank statements, proof of assets, property cash flow, your credit references, or international credit when available and only if necessary. So that's that one. Then you have the fix and flip loans. So I work with over 240 lenders and one credit report. So 240 lenders, one credit report, right? What that basically means for my realtors and my real estate investors, if you want to get the deal done, I can get the deal done and not affect your customers. Lord, did I say that? Not affect your buyer's credit, and at the same time, not affect my client's credit. I see so many times often, whereas a borrower will go to a bank or they go to a small brokerage, and they go to the small brokerage and everybody's running their credit. They went from a 780 score to a 708 score. So you want to be in a situation whereas that one credit report, all of your lenders can use it because you are a reputable company and it is a reputable credit agency. So that's very important to understand that. Now, like I said, you have the fix and flip loans. That is basically short-term financing designed to buy, renovate, and resell property quickly. These loans focus more on after repair value, project timeline, experience, and team strength. So what I mean by experience, like depending upon the program that you go through, I may turn around and say, or your mortgage person may say, how many properties have you rehabbed in the past? Is this new? If you rehab properties in the past within the last 3 years or in the last year, how many? How fast did you get out of it? What is your exit strategy? They want to know those things. So if you're doing a fix and flip, the difference with that is sometimes depending upon the lender, they want you to be experienced. But again, if you're working with a mortgage broker like me, or any keyword is broker, mortgage broker, they're going to tell you in the door which companies can they should, let me correct that. They should be able to tell you in the door which companies can potentially do the deal without having to submit your stuff all over the place. They should have already just, get it rated out, get it, get the terms based upon your scenario, your situation. Hey, Joe is a foreign national. he's from Canada or he's from London, he doesn't have a credit score. He has 20% to put down. Here is the property. Here's how much the property is worth. They need to be able to know that. So this is really, really important that whoever your team is, if you're a real estate investor, that you have your team in order. If you're a realtor, make sure they have their team in order, even if you have to assist them. You're not just going to sit there and just having to sign a contract. Like, it doesn't work that way, because now you come off as a salesperson versus more as part of their team. And like I said, it takes a village to raise a child. It takes a village, a team to grow real estate investing. So that's really important, is to make sure everybody is on their par. Now, there is another loans that you can get when it comes to the portfolio and multi-property loans. These are ideal for investors acquiring properties, multiple properties, actually at one time under one structure, which is generally held in the LLC and entity. And so let me speak on the LLC and entity. When it comes to the LLC and the entity, is very important as a real estate investor, period. Whether you're foreign national, whether you're U.S. citizen, if you're really trying to get into this business, I need you to incorporate your LLC, incorporate your business. Don't be trying to buy this in your name. Yes, your social security number is going to be ran. Yes, you are the guarantor, but the property needs to close in the name of your company. That is huge. And when you're working with like a lot of hard money lenders or fix and flippers, or even if you work with a mortgage broker, understand, like I said, I work with 240 plus lenders for specific projects. And when it comes to foreign investors or real estate investors, fix and flippers, you should have an LLC and your EIN number. And that's something that you need to be able to get. And you don't have to pay nobody for the EIN number. So please don't ever pay nobody for your EIN number. You can get that at irs.gov, search EIN or apply for EIN, and you can get that for free. So please don't pay nobody for that. Okay, so now when it comes to the portfolio and the multi-property loans, the key thing to understand is not every program is going to fit every investor, and every deal is different. The strategy and how it's going to be presented to the lenders is extremely important, and that is what's going to help you close your deals. So your team is really important, but your team need to be on their A game too. Now, why the right team is everything is because foreign investors who succeed in the U.S. don't do it alone. Like, they don't. They build a team, the right team from day one. So here's who should actually be on your team and why each role is so important. First, you have your loan officer or your mortgage strategist, which is me. I structured the deal correctly from the beginning. Choosing the right loan program, avoiding compliance issues, preventing costly mistakes, preventing you from losing your contract. If you feel like you want to assign your contract to somebody else because maybe you wanted to wholesale the deal, that person needs to actually be able to make sure the deal actually is structured correctly and works. That's really important. This is not just about getting a rate. It's not just about protecting your capital under no circumstances. It's about getting the deal done. And you continue to reinvest in growing your portfolio, not just doing one deal, because one deal in the foreign investor and you thousands of miles away, it's not even really beneficial for you. The whole goal is to build your portfolio. Even if you're flipping multiple properties at one time, build your portfolio. Now, your real estate agent. Your real estate agent must be investor savvy. Your real estate agent must be investor friendly. Your real estate agent must understand foreign nationals. And most importantly, your real estate agent should be very, very patient. Now, every agent understands real estate investing. They don't understand foreign nationals. Again, if you are a doctor, keep in mind, dentists are doctors, right? Dentists are doctors. Podiatrists are doctors. But am I going to let a dentist give me heart surgery? Am I going to let a podiatrist pull my teeth out? Am I going to let an orthopedic give me, eyeglasses and tell me what my vision is and what it is and how my retinal is? Absolutely not. So there are a lot of excellent, great realtors and top producing realtors in the U.S., but it doesn't mean they understand foreign nationals or real estate investing. So that's really important for you to understand that. Now, when it comes to real estate investing, you're looking at, like I said, your real estate agent. They need to understand real estate. You need someone who understands cash flow, rehab potential, neighborhood trends, rental demand. Then there's the real estate attorney. A same exact thing. That real estate attorney needs to be a true real estate attorney, but also understand the different things that foreign nationals actually need. There are certain contracts that's in place. That needs to be definitely understood. Then we have your, the reason, here's the other thing. They need to ensure that the title is clean, the property entity is set up, contract is protected, compliance with U.S. laws. Like, you can actually get this deal closed and you're protected. And that's why it's important to close it in your LLC or even corporation. Then you have your CPA and your tax advisor. You don't really need them right away, but once you start building that portfolio, have them, because a CPA is going to help you basically structure like the ownership correctly once you start buying multiple properties. Reduce your tax exposure, because depending upon what country you're from, you ain't paying all these taxes. Now you're in the U.S. and you're like, what the fuck is this? Understanding, the FIRPTA, FIRPTA, the implications for that when it comes to the taxes, which I have another podcast coming up on that. Plan your long-term portfolio growth. Now, your contractors. Your contractors are the make and break factor when it comes to fix and flip. So if you're doing a fix and flip project, I need you to listen carefully. One of the biggest reasons investors lose money is poor contract management, shitty project management. You want to always get at least 3 bids. And let me explain why. You need to know the true market cost of the renovation. You need to be able to avoid inflated or unrealistic pricing. You can spot red flags and inconsistencies. You can protect your margins. So let me tell you something about when you have these 3 different contractors. You have to be very, very careful. Sometimes the cheapest one is not the one. You kind of want the one in the middle. You don't want the one too high. But here's some things. If a contractor asks you how much money you're getting or how much you're purchasing this property for, that's a red flag, because he is trying to capitalize off of how much he thinks you're going to make on the property. So now all of a sudden your numbers go up. Red flag. If you got a contractor who's like, oh, I can do it for $80,000, understand that's another red flag. He bids low, so all of a sudden, next thing you know, every time you look around, there is an issue. By the time you're done, that $80,000 went to $160,000, which is actually higher than the first guy who told you $150,000. So be careful of the ones with the smaller numbers. In addition to that, when you're being careful with the ones with the smaller numbers, it's really highly important just to understand that when you're doing this contract for these real estate contractors, you're actually saying to them, hey, let me give you a contingency date. If you're done with this in 6 months, you can get a bonus. If you take 8 months and you told me 6 months, I'm going to start subtracting the number. Because sometimes these contractors will start, doing things to inflate, because they know you only pay $80,000 for the property, and they're like, wait, I was going to charge them $100,000, but this property is worth $700,000, and they'll ask you how much the property is worth. Now all of a sudden that $80,000 or $100,000 went to $280,000. No, don't tell them how much you pay for the property. Don't tell them how much it's worth. If they don't know how to look it up, that ain't your business, and that's not your responsibility, because those numbers should not rely under no circumstances on what you paid and how you was able to negotiate the deal. Now, why contractors matters to the lenders? They look at the scope of work, the timeline, the budget, being realistic. If your numbers really don't make sense, the deal will fall apart. So it's very important that you make sure that contractor is solid. They keep the project on schedule. They prevent cost overturns, projects your actual ARV, meaning after rehab value, and ensures a profitable exit. Now, when it comes to how foreign investors scale real estate portfolios in the U.S., smart investors don't just buy one property. They actually build systems. They build a huge portfolio and they build a team. And if you're a realtor and if you're an attorney, you're a contractor and you're good, they're going to keep you and they're going to keep building. And if they see they're making money, they're going to keep building. What this means is using DSCR loans for long-term rentals, recycling capital through fix and flip projects, leveraging equity instead of tying up all of their money, working with the lenders who understand foreign nationals, somebody like me, but even if it's not me, honestly, another mortgage broker, right? The goal is just not ownership. It's like all about like scalability and, just being able to sustainability. Now, if you're a foreign investor, a foreign national, international investor, and you're so serious about building wealth in the U.S. real estate, give me a call. Like, if I cannot do the deal, I will refer you to someone. I am actually licensed only, I ain't gonna say only because I do have a lot of license, but Alabama, Arkansas, Florida, Georgia, Kentucky, Minnesota. I'm not licensed in Minnesota. Michigan, Missouri, Virginia. I'm licensed in 10 states and actually California. So I say that to say to you, under no circumstances, if I cannot get that deal done, I will refer you to the right person who understands foreign national real estate investment and DSCR loans. And even if, this is really important, even if you don't even use any of those people, you just say, I want to do this on my own. It's cool too. Maybe you're going through a wholesaler. But it's important to be very knowledgeable when it comes to knowing what you can get here in the U.S. It's important to build the right team, choose the right loan program to know what's out there, structure these deals properly from day one. Stop guessing, start strategizing. You can always call me directly, send me a text message or call my office, 312-392-0664, and visit me on homeloansnetwork.com, or my link tree is Home Loans Network. I work with a lot of real estate investors across multiple states, especially specialized in foreign national financing, whether it's the DSCR loans, fix and flips, and portfolio strategies. So for me, like I said, it's really, really, really important that you build your team. And again, it don't have to be me. I love sharing information. I don't care who you use, but I care that you are knowledgeable. So make sure that you tune in to my YouTube every Wednesday for live Wednesdays and questions. My Reddit, which is specifically for nationals, like to really get you going. Like I have a lot of information on there. Ask me questions. I respond to that. And that is on Reddit under Home Loans Network. Home Loans Network. And then you can catch me on Bigger Pockets, Home Loans Network. All I'm going to tell you is Google Ebony Biko. You are going to find me. So thank you for tuning in to this podcast and video. And I look forward to answering any further questions in the future when it comes to my real estate investors. Bye-bye.